What do you call a pony with a slightly sore throat?
Ooh.
A little horse.
Did you get that off a Laffy Taffy?
No, it was
Dad jokes.
It was on a Tootsie Roll.
Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 184 of Bourbon Pursuit. I'm your host, Kenny, and this is the 28th recording of the Bourbon Community Roundtable. Now, the one thing we all love about Bourbon Community Roundtables is it's all about recent news, so therefore, I've got nothing to talk about except maybe just a little bit of our own. And that the fact is, tomorrow is our first barrel pick of 2019, and we're going to be at Four Roses picking our first barrel. And then I guess we're kind of back to back. I don't know, you put a weekend in the middle. And we're going to be at Buffalo Trace on Monday picking a barrel of Buffalo Trace. And thank you to our partner, Keg and Bottle, out of the San Diego area for making this happen. So make sure you go and check it out, bottle.com. And they can ship over 700 different whiskeys to your house nationwide. Now, this Bourbon Community Roundtable has a lot of information. There's yet another fake Pappy alert. Yes, it's true. It's not the first time. It's definitely not going to be the last time. Fakers are getting better, and we talk about the most recent scandal that even involves an employee of Buffalo Trace who is allegedly selling counterfeit Van Winkles on the secondary market. And if you've been buying too much, maybe you should be watching a new series on Netflix called Tidying Up, and you may get some tips on your bourbon bunker and how to kind of like let it loose. Then we dig into the certification game that's been happening. Is there really such a thing as a whiskey sommelier? Or is it just a bogus hoax for your money and some large medallion for $4,000 at the end of the day? It's going to be an interesting little topic. Then we finish off the conversation saying goodbye to our good friend Kerry, and we wish him well. You know, one thing that you always got to know is you got to go to bourbonpursuit.com. You got to get signed up for our email list so you make sure you get every episode beamed to your inbox, 7 a.m. every Thursday morning with all the show notes and all the links. And if you haven't taken the opportunity yet, please do. Write us a review on iTunes. That's what helps grow the show. That's what makes us better. So please go ahead and do that, because without you, we're going to be the same thing as usual. We want to keep growing and we want to keep reaching new audiences. Now with that, enjoy this week's episode. Here's Fred Minnick with Above the Char.
I'm Fred Minnick, and this is Above the Char. In a recent Twitter poll, I asked followers if they believe whiskey marketers are trying to deceive them. 83% said yes. Well, I wrote in my book, Bourbon Curious, there's more bullshit per square inch on a whiskey label than a political ad, and I've never really put too much trust in what whiskey marketers say. I was rather stunned by the lack of belief in whiskey marketing. Perhaps I've grown numb to the Alabama backstories and oversold claims of farm to bottle, or maybe I have just seen how much things have improved in the past decade. See, 10 years ago, Heaven Hill didn't disclose their mash bills. Now they do. We also didn't hear full distillery disclosures on things like barrel entry proofs or still types. Today, I can tell you where most corn comes from for every bourbon brand and how each distillery makes its whiskey. And it's incredible how many source whiskey bottlers are not only disclosing their sources, but are willing to violate NDAs to inform a consumer at a trade show. This stuff just didn't happen a decade ago. Unfortunately, transparency hasn't caught up to the marketers yet. Most are willing to put their money behind the tried and true story methods of whiskey marketing that dates as far back as the first American whiskey. It's important to have a story. And of course, there's the consumer. So many of us are jaded toward anything coming out of a distiller's mouth that we don't believe anything they say. Forever, I have used this particular piece as evidence we whiskey geeks take bourbon far too seriously. After all, is it really that important? That's why I planted another Twitter poll and posed this scenario. You've got 5 minutes to jump on a boat to save your life and your family's, and you can only take one of the following. Which are you taking? Your best bourbon, your pet, a keepsake, or something else? 61% said the pet, and in second was something else. Bourbon came in a distant third with 16% of the vote. So, while this is certainly not a scientific poll, it gives me hope that we still have our priorities right. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must take my 11-year-old dog, Remo, to the vet. She's my baby girl, and I have to make sure she's feeling well. And that's this week's Above the Char. Make sure you're following me on Instagram and Twitter at Fred Minnick. That's at Fred Minnick. Until next week, cheers.
Ed Bly and Rising Tide Spirits are back again with a new release of Old Stubborn Bourbon. And this release of Old Stubborn is a premium hand marriage of 10, 11, and 12-year cask strength, barely filtered pot still bourbon. It comes in at a staggering 123.8 proof, and the flavoring grain for this one, which the last one was wheated, but this time it's now rye. Rich, sweet, and bold with a long finish that's sure to be another eye-opener. You can order online at Sealbox or thebourbonconcierge.com, and you can even purchase in person at Revival Vintage Spirits, and even now with very few select stores in Kentucky. You can get it now while you can, but be sure to do it because it's not going to last long.
Play Whiskey Wednesday Round 11, the memory game. Until June 26, each week you can win one of our 12 incredible grand prizes. Select $2 at checkout. And if they match on drawing night, you'll win that bottle. Not a match? No worries. You still score a Weller 12-year. Every $5 ticket gives you 5 chances to win, including 4 weekly bonus prizes. Get your tickets now at give270.org. Charitable Gaming License ORG 0002703.
Do you ever pour yourself a bourbon, swirl it around, and then start struggling to come up with tasting notes? And perhaps you're also looking for a good Father's Day gift idea. Well, you can now solve both with a kit from Knows Your Bourbon. And unlike other nosing kits on the market, Knows Your Bourbon kits feature real ingredients for the most authentic aromas. You can smell real Tahitian vanilla bean instead of some synthetic aroma that's just made from chemicals. So head on over to knowsyourbourbon.com. and enter code BP10 for 10% off your order. From their bar to yours, Chad and Sarah of the popular YouTube channel It's Bourbon Night bring you their favorite at-home old-fashioned mix with the new Elemental Elixir's Golden Hour Syrup. It's a custom-made syrup with notes of bold black tea, warm spices, and orange zest. All you need is your favorite whiskey and ice. No bitters needed. One bottle makes 16 drinks, so that's only $1 a cocktail before you add your own whiskey. They can also be enjoyed in other cocktails or spirits, mocktails, coffee, tea, and anything you can think of. It's crafted locally in Lexington, Kentucky, and you can get your bottle now at whiskeyambitions.com. Always find what you love at Total Wine & More. With so many great bottles to choose from at the lowest price, it's easy to find your favorite Cabernet or a new single-barrel bourbon to try with some help from one of their friendly guides. And with every bottle comes the confidence of knowing you just found something amazing. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love and love what you find only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly and be 21.
Welcome back to another episode of Bourbon Pursuit. This is the 28th recording of the Bourbon Community Roundtable. And if you're joining us via live or watching this on video, you're seeing something new tonight. Ryan and I are actually here together.
Whoa.
On camera. How weird.
It's taco night.
It was taco night here at the Coleman household. And I mean, it was a long story, but Ryan ended up coming over here, had some tacos, and then he realized that he forgot his laptop back in his truck. And I said, well, I guess you're just going to stick around here, and we're going to have to just pull the recording equipment downstairs and make this happen.
Yeah.
I like it.
We were 3 stouts deep that were like 17. And I was like, you know what? I really don't feel like going home. So I'm just going to sit here and hang out with you. So.
Yeah, it's what I don't know if anybody's ever had before. It's called the Big Ass Money Stout, but it's like 17% something. So
yeah, you drink one of those, you're like,
we killed that. We had a Willetized coffee stout, and then we had a Avery peanut stout. I think it was like 15.5%, something like that. So,
And then you realized you had diabetes.
well, then
then
we said, hey, when we go downstairs and start drinking some bourbon and start recording, that's a great idea. Oh, there we go. That's
like, settle it down.
That's how mistakes are made right there. All right. So Fred, how you doing tonight, bud?
Pretty good. I'm hurt a little bit. Didn't get the invite here from you two boys.
No taco night for Fred?
Yeah,
no taco night.
You're too far away. You're like in Oldham County.
Well, you know, I sent some text earlier to Kenny tonight, so I think they might be finding a way to boycott me. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
think so.
6 months has been too long. You're right.
Fred, you're welcome at any taco night at my house. I don't know why they didn't.
Actually, you know what? Blake, I appreciate that. I bet your driveway is not as hard to get up as Kenny's.
Oh god, it's impossible. Every time
I'm pretty sure
I'm like, I'm gonna swipe.
Whenever my Uber driver was backing out, he almost went into your neighbor's house, like pulling out of your driveway. I'm like, I can only imagine this in the snow. This guy's having trouble, and it's pretty good weather out today.
Yeah,
It's funny. Hard driveway.
I parked up top and I had to Lauren was pulling in, and I had to guide her into the driveway because it's so tight. But yeah, it's an interesting driveway.
Yeah, you can almost pull into your neighbor's living room there. That one spot with the window.
Yeah,
just want to.
If you go fast enough, it could be dangerous. I agree with that.
I think we should talk about Kenny's driveway all night. It's really interesting,
Yeah, I think there's better things to talk about than my driveway. So with that, let's go ahead and go around the table because that's typically what we always do. Nick, let's go ahead and start with you at Breaking Bourbon.
All right. Well, I'm Nick, one of the 3 guys behind BreakingBourbon.com. Check us out online and social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, all at Breaking Bourbon. Thanks, guys, for having me on tonight. This is actually the first roundtable I've been on at the same time as Fred. So I think either Jordan's been on or Fred's missed it. So first time I'm chatting here with Fred as well. So
not that exciting. Just let you know.
It's true. It's true. Prepared to be very disappointed.
Don't beat your idols. There you go. Never beat your idols. That's probably what they say. So with that, I'm going to go. Blake, go next.
Yeah. Is my mic a little bit better?
You're good. No,
you sound
good,
echoey. I don't think it's your actual mic that's connected. That's okay. We'll have we've got our new person on staff that can cut this out.
She loves editing.
Lauren's gonna hate me.
She works by the hour, so it's gonna work out great.
If you want to try to fix it real quick, that's fine.
Yeah, is that better?
No.
Hey,
check your cog and see if it's actually picking up the Yeti or not.
How about now? Well, it's got to be the Yeti because I'm not in on anything else. I don't have headphones in. I got to go get those.
You know what?
Better.
We'll make it
Just
work.
Keep going.
I think we're okay.
I'm going to go grab headphones after my intro. So, all right. I'm Blake from Bourboner. Yeah, this is the 25th, 27th roundtable in a row.
28. We're getting up there
without missing one. So the Brett Favre of the Bourbon Roundtable. So you can find me at bourbonr.com. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Facebook group is that's probably the most lively, and then also now on YouTube. So check out the YouTube page and subscribe if you get a chance.
And buy a bunch of rum off of his website too, because that was another thing that kind of happened this past few weeks. Was Fred actually named one of the rums that you carry one of the best rums in the nation?
He did. He named Richland rum, which was a barrel pick I did from them. It was cask strength. It was, I think it was just over 5 years old and about 5.5 years old. And they do it in a very, I hate to say whiskey style, but they're going into new charred oak. They're aging at a fairly lower entry proof, no sugar added, no dosage, all of that stuff. And Fred named it American Rum of the Year, so I was pretty excited about that.
It's funny. I went to Fred's office the other day and saw an envelope from Blake Reaper.
Yeah, it all makes sense. Anonymous, and it was cash.
Ryan, you have no idea the kind of shit you could get us into by saying that.
I know, but we do have to say is that even though we are all a tight knit, we actually have a lot of our own things going on. It just happens to all seem that we just sort of intertwine a lot. But
yeah, I can preface that by saying I honestly had no clue. I think Fred sent me the link the night it went out, and that was the first I heard of it. So no funny business, but the bottle is available at sealbox.com. So that's SEELBACHS.com. And then if you just search for Richland, it's the cask strength version. I think it says bourbon or pick or something like that. So I was very excited about that.
I remember tasting that, for the first time, and it was just, it wowed me. But there's such a growth in American rum right now. It's very, very exciting. So, I think a lot of the craft bourbons have struggled. There's only a handful that really, kind of stood up and kind of taken the lead. But in rum, there's many coming off. Richland's right up there.
Yeah, Richland's up there, and if nobody's ever checked out, Highwire does their Low Country Agricole, which was, I tried that a couple weeks ago, and it was really good. So that's another really interesting one that I'm pretty excited about.
Cool. Oh, so with
longest intro ever.
I know, really.
Oh, we're still doing the intro.
Kerry, would you like to go ahead and give your biography while we're at it?
Sure. This is Kerry from Twitter, and we'll get to that later. But the blog formerly known as Suburbia, SUBOURBIA.com. Awesome archived content there you can check out. Going forward, you'll find me always on Twitter at @bourbon_gamer. And that's going to be my home from now on, forever and ever. Amen.
RIP. All right. So the first topic tonight is something that we've discussed on the podcast a lot. We've talked about it on roundtables before. And this is just understanding what happens in a market where there is a lot of more demand than there is supply. And of course, if you're watching this, you might see some of the bottles behind me of just Van Winkle. It is a name that gets a lot of attention. And when something gets a lot of attention, people are going to try to figure out ways to go around the system. They're going to try to figure out ways to try to game it and make it more beneficial to them. So this past week, I have to give a shout out to Adam Hers as well as Alex Ennis, who did a lot of the legwork and actually trying to figure out where this is coming from. So one of the biggest things that happened this past week on Facebook, one of the forums in the secondary markets, was trying to figure out where are these counterfeit Pappy Van Winkles coming from? So there was a lot of investigative work that happened, and shout out to those two guys that actually did a lot of it. I talked to one of them offline. There was weeks that were spent actually texting these individuals, trying to dig into it, doing just grunt work, and then also even going as high as contacting the manufacturer and Buffalo Trace in this regard, and trying to get to the bottom of this. And so I'm going to give you just some of the highlights of this and just kind of what you can point out here. So some of the main points we look at. So there's a gentleman, he is an employee of Buffalo Trace, and he has been discovered as selling fake Pappy Van Winkle. Evidence shows that he was actually buying empty bottles, which he resold 3 days later, full, sealed, and quote-unquote new. Now, Buffalo Trace and Sazerac has been notified and says they will investigate and take action if warranted. However, denies that any involvement was actually done in refilling. So this case actually took an enormous amount of time from these two individuals to figure it out. Some of the basic details of actually how they got there were the source of two counterfeit bottles were actually exposed in another underground secondary group. However, I believe they were found off of off of eBay. So when they found that, the two bottles in question were a Van Winkle Rye as well as a Van Winkle 23. And from there, it kind of went on and on and on and talked about how, it was a he said kind of where is this going to be in regards of what is, really who's telling the truth or who isn't. These are all alleged. By the way, this is nothing that is proven in courts or anything like that. So we can't say that anything is actually true or it's false. This is all just allegations at this point. But this kind of goes on to the next thing is to kind of lead in Fred, because he did a little bit more digging, got a response back from Buffalo Trace on this matter. And Fred, I'll kind of hand it over to you as well.
Well, they confirmed that they knew about it. And that, they've been down this road before. They didn't, we didn't go into this with them, but they've been down this road before. Buffalo Trace has been also one of the preeminent leaders in trying to stop secondary activity. And, their statement is quite a bit more detailed than what it was when they gave me a statement for the previous Pappy High. So I'll go ahead and just read that verbatim. Well, and this is a quote from Buffalo Trace. While we do not comment on specific investigations for several years now, Buffalo Trace has been actively investigating, pursuing counterfeiting and secondary market activities. Counterfeiting and secondary market sales of beverage alcohol are pervasive and destructive activities prevalent in many parts of the world, and they are on the rise in the United States. They represent a threat to the consumer safety and need to be stopped. We will not hesitate to take actions against any perpetrators of this illegal activity that we find, end quote. Now, that may not sound like, they're necessarily discussing the specific case at hand here, the alleged case at hand. But what I read in that is that you got a distillery who is probably going to pursue a lot of efforts to ensure these alleged activities get their rightful day in court if they happened.
So are you saying you think that refers to the employee? Because it sounded a lot more like they were saying we're going to come after secondary markets, which to me is just a bunch of smoke.
I would say it's, from them, it's probably one and the same. Like they have, they were against the, in large, they were against the vintage bill that passed here in Kentucky. And that was in part because they thought that it could create like a kind of like a distribution system, like an illegal distribution system of someone who's not a regular distributor, and that people couldn't validate it. So they were afraid that that might kind of create like a counterfeiting scheme there. And they are always a proponent of ending secondary market activity. Now, what we have seen in our networks is typically not what they kind of go after. What you see that, what they are more concerned about has usually been like Craigslist. It's not, there hasn't been a, from the distillery community, when it comes to the enthusiast group like us, they're not necessarily as concerned about that as they are Craigslist and, non-enthusiast secondary groups. And what happens here is anytime you have somebody who hurts the community and does things outside of enthusiasm, and they counterfeit it and they cheat the game, it really ruins it for us all. And if any of us here allegedly use the secondary market, that is.
Oh, come on.
What is
but
never seen it. Never seen it. I don't have any idea. Like I just found these 1973 wild turkeys like in my grandpa's basement.
Yeah.
Right. You went to an estate sale. It's okay.
Yeah.
They had them out
I've
of
done that
sale.
a lot. Shame on the estate guy for selling it to me.
Right. I think that the point they make, Craigslist, I think 90% of the time is a store owner or somebody associated with a store who doesn't have knowledge or know how to get into whatever these markets you're talking about in other places. But, I think that you have two sides of the coin. You have the consumer side, which I consider the hobbyists, because a lot of the people who are selling stuff just want to buy different bottles. So
Absolutely.
it's a reinvestment into a hobby. It's not so much a dirty practice of, I would just want to make a bunch of money, and then put it all in Bitcoin, like some other people I know. But
somebody I know.
I think there's two sides to it. There's that, and then you have people who are legitimately in the business of just making money, purely money from it. And I think that's probably who they would intend to go after, hopefully.
Well, this all goes back to everything in alcohol always goes back to prohibition. And when legislation hits alcohol, it typically takes the worst thing that happened and they punish everybody, for it. And so, the arguments from the distillers are the secondary market is bad because they're not legal sales of alcohol, and that could lead to another prohibition of sorts. It could lead to some kind of federal governance that they don't want. And that's in part why, the Kentucky Distillers Association created or lobbied for, the Vintage Spirits Act, which now makes it perfectly legal for an individual to sell a bottle of vintage spirits to a liquor store or a bar.
What do they call vintage, by the way?
Vintage really just means it's out of
gray.
distribution. So they don't have a
There are restrictions on there, like you can't sell more than 24 bottles in a year. But, in terms of what is vintage, it just has to be out of distribution. So like you can't sell your Maker's Mark, for example, that you bought 2 years ago because it's still in distribution.
But the idea is it's not going to hurt the traditional channels. It's not going to hurt the traditional retailers, and they're going to keep anybody from getting big.
That's exactly right.
So you're going to open up the market and try to bring it out of Craigslist and out of those areas, and hopefully into people's hands that have some way to judge whether or not it's legitimate whiskey.
Well, that's right. And in North Carolina did the same thing, but the federal government, the minute that Kentucky passed this law, the federal government issued a response saying that it's still in violation of federal code. And right now, the Kentucky and North Carolina are still kind of operating in the same manner that Colorado is with marijuana.
Right.
So we're still in some gray area. And, in Ohio, there were, a dozen people who just got arrested for selling things like Pappy. And I think there was some vodka sold too. People were just regular people selling stuff to someone else off of Craigslist.
But that was the Ohio.
Yeah, that was Ohio.
That went after that, right? That wasn't the feds.
You see the control states do this. Like Pennsylvania will do it every year. Ohio does it every year. So if you live in a control state and you're selling alcohol, to a if you're a non-licensed person with alcohol and you're selling it, you're doing it at a great risk because they pay a lot more attention.
It's almost like they want to make an example of somebody once or twice a year or two in those states. That's just the unlucky person that got caught.
Yeah,
that's everybody that's doing it.
That's
and
exactly
by the
what I was
way,
gonna say. It wasn't actually an example made of somebody, or is it really a crackdown? Because in my opinion, I don't think it's slowing anything down. It's just that they were just the unlucky people that day. I don't think anything's actually slowing down this particular trend in the market.
And by the way, it's funny, like these same states that arrest people for selling it, they conveniently lose 2 bottles of Pappy every single year when it comes to selling it. When damn good and well it went into a senator's pocket or something.
Well, yeah, Ohio does shady shit anyway. The Old Weller Antique price increase?
Allegedly.
It's confirmed by Buffalo Trace, right? $49.99 across the country. Well, Ohio has said, F you, we're charging $29.99. Somehow, they're getting away with only charging $29.99 because it's a control state, and I guess they can set where they want. So now.
Well, technically, they can set whatever they want no matter what because the manufacturer can't set the pricing. But still, how do you?
Wouldn't you pay more for it though? If MSRP goes up,
what I can't figure out is because I'm sure it's going into distribution at a higher price. How they're just saying, kind of screw you.
We're going to lose money on this product.
Here's how much we don't care.
That's a simple case of they're probably sitting on product that was left over from so the price increase is connected to the most recent distribution. So I doubt Ohio is going to stand by that long. They probably just have a bunch of extra Weller.
Yeah. So here's a good point that was brought up by Mash and Drum here on the chat.
Mash and Drum, what up?
How about it? And they said that Ohio, the reason they did it is because their reasoning is that it hurts small liquor stores, and saying that 90% of stores will never see a bottle because of the secondary. Do you see this as true or not?
How is that possible? Doesn't it have to go through them first ultimately? I mean, I would think a lot of these small stores might even be the ones that are, some of them, putting it on the secondary in the first place, or working with somebody or getting it to somebody who they know probably will.
No, I totally agree.
I don't understand how that would affect it, but I don't know. The whole, Buffalo Trace coming down on it, and I know we kind of mentioned the guy here earlier, but I kind of think back, who was and Fred may remember this, whenever there was the big Pappy heist, there was some like middle school principal whose name got thrown into the news because he had walked into a store and asked for Pappy Van Winkle. Well, then the next thing you know, like security footage is getting posted of this guy.
Yeah.
And basically all he had done was walked in and said, "Hey, do you have any Pappy Van Winkle?" The store owner took it as, "Hey, I have a bunch to sell." And somehow this guy gets his name dragged through the mud. So you kind of don't want to see that repeat itself with some of these fakes that are popping up until it really is confirmed.
So was that his story, or was that the?
No. That was the actual truth. It came out. He was like, "Man, I'm just hitting stores, seeing who has it." But with this, it does feel a little bit different because there's like, eBay records of somebody buying an empty bottle. But at the end of the day, there is no good solution. This got posted in the Bourboner group, and some people are like, "Oh, just shut down every secondary market." Well, I mean, I don't want to see that. I've purchased really old bottles that, a bottle from 1948, I have no other way of getting that bottle aside from some of these enthusiasts. Do I want to see each bottle of Pappy Van Winkle getting turned around and flipped in a car on Craigslist? No, I don't want that either. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think Buffalo Trace has a lot of bigger fish to fry. Now we'll see if they come out with something like what's not the REFID chips, but like the counterfeit. I know there's some strips and stuff they use. I think it's Macallan and the Scotch that uses them, that they can kind of use those. But I really just think Buffalo Trace wants part of this to just go away and not be an issue when we talk about the percentage of sales that these bourbons are to Sazerac as a whole. They want to. Yeah.
When the last Pappy heist happened, I was covering that, and I remember, at that point in my career, this was all, I had left. I just gotten to that point in my life where I was really over Iraq. For those who don't know, I'm an Iraq vet, and it took me some time to really get over that. And I was done with my investigative reporting days, and I remember covering that, and it was like my bourbon innocence was lost because the guy, child pornography came up in the case. And when that happened, and there were steroids, and there was all kinds of different things, that these people were just criminals. And so we have to look at this as like, we have to take away the fact that this is our love, this is our hobby, this is the passion we've come to know and love, and just realize that it's money for people. And when you have money, you're going to have crime. And, I just urge everyone out there to not get down on this, to not give up on bourbon, and just get off of these groups and to move on to something else, because the passion is still there. You just got to realize that when crime happens, criminals commit them, not enthusiasts.
Yep.
You got to find the rotten egg.
People chase money for sure. You look at, that's a good point of just criminals. They don't care whether it's Pappy, whether it's wine, whether it's whatever it is. If they can make an extra $1, that's all it comes down to. And that's kind of what I like about most of the groups that I think some of us associate with, is it is just other enthusiasts trying to help each other out. It's not about flipping as much. And there's additional value there. But at the end of the day, most people are just looking for specific bottles.
I love your points about it. I disagree a little bit, because I think it's kind of exciting in the bourbon world, right? We got drama going on. We can talk about it. It brings us together, and we get excited, and we post about it on the forums, and we follow it, and we eat our popcorn and do our gifts and everything. And
we do like our drama, don't we?
It's like watching Days of Our Lives.
I don't think
it's like watching a car crash. You're like, well, I can't turn away now.
Right. And as long as it's not affecting the majority, if it's just affecting a minority, it's a little bit of drama.
You can't make a rule for a few. That's what I've learned in life, is like, you're always going to have a few idiots out there. You can't make a rule for the few F-ups out there.
Yeah. And you can't, what is it? You can't make, or or you can't police morality, or what's the saying by like Plato or something? You can't legalize morality.
Whoa.
It's something
You got really deep with us right there.
You're
Philosophy
just gonna have,
roundtable.
like, yeah, no matter what, people are going to find a way to skirt around the system. So yeah, I don't know.
But my last point on that is I think it does teach people to be a little bit more careful. I think to get comfortable.
Yeah, and
you got to be careful with stuff.
I think that's where I was thinking too. I think, you can get caught up in the excitement, and, you got to remember, if you're looking for something like Pappy on the secondary, there's a chance it may not be real. There's a chance there's something else going on there, when somebody on the other side of the transaction could be making a lot of money. You don't know them. You're in a illegal market to begin with. I think that's something you have to go in with skepticism when you're looking, and you got to understand there is some risk in, just participating in it on either side. Obviously, it's something you can't forget. And, obviously the more expensive and highly sought after the bottle might be, the greater chance there might be that there's something like that going on, or somebody you don't know, the greater chance there's a criminal behind it.
So, Dick, I want to kind of take that in a different direction and ask one more question to the group before we kind of move on here. Is that there's skeptics everywhere and figuring out what they think there is on the secondary market. And there's one person out there that, he always says, like, I bet that over 50% of the Van Winkles on the secondary are all fakes.
No,
I am very, very much against that, saying that, like, if it's anything, it might be less than 2%. But kind of what are your all's thoughts on that in regards of A, either how easy it is to be able to do it, and B, is there really a good percentage of what you think is actually fake out there?
Well, I think
good,
first of all,
good fakes, because most of us can spot the obvious fakes.
I think the volume of fakes like that, relatively speaking to everything that's going on through the retailer channels, even though it might be to specific people and lotteries and things like that, is small to begin with. So I think you're dealing with a relatively small market as it is. So you're going to take that relatively small market and make it even smaller in that scenario, because now you've also got something where somebody is actually bottling something else and packaging it and doing more with it. And how many people are going to actually turn that into a business versus one or two bottles? That's the question too. How many can you get away with? I would imagine at some point, if it's a lot, people are going to figure it out.
There was somebody that leaked from a distributor, I believe, maybe 2 years ago. They leaked, they don't release how many bottles of Pappy, and I'm talking just about 15, 20, 23, but it was leaked how many came to Georgia, and we were able to kind of figure out the number. I think it was in the 20,000s of, if you combine 15, 20, and 23 that year. So if you look at just a year, that number, 20,000, how many of those, really are fakes that we're talking about? If we're talking about 20,000, each year out there, I would agree that it's probably a very small percentage.
And I think it depends on what we're calling the market. Like, are we calling the secondary market? We kind of see flipping on Craigslist and, Bottle Spot, Facebook, whatever it is. But I think it's got to be small, because people are just too happy to go and just win a bottle at a lottery and put it up for sale the next day. The time that people would have to spend to, get the foil, put the foil on correctly, refill it. Maybe it's naive, but I still think we're talking about maybe 0.5% at most, assuming kind of there's that 10 to 20,000 bottles floating around any given year.
I don't think I've even seen a fake bottle. Like, I would want to see examples of what the fakes look like to be able to tell what the difference is. I mean, is it color? Is the color the difference?
So I've seen two in the last month or so. One, it was a Van Winkle rye where the color just looked off, and then they were able to trace the bottle back to an eBay sale of an empty bottle. And then same thing with a Pappy 23. The color wasn't off. Actually, everything looked perfect on the bottle, but they were able to trace back the bottle code to an empty sale on a 20 or on an eBay bottle. But I've seen people on a 23 year this was a couple of years ago where they did that, but they actually tried to just change a letter just a little bit, like make an E and A or something. And you could kind of tell. But I mean, honestly, aside from opening it up, who knows what they put in it, but I would have never guessed it. And I get a lot of messages from people like, hey, is this fake? I'm like, man, I don't know, because I don't want to point you one way or the other, because it looks good to me, I'll tell you that, but that's not to say it's not fake. So
I think there's something interesting going on in the chat that, somebody bring up the point of, we're talking about total percentage that are fake, but what about the percentage that are specifically on the secondary? What percentage of what's on the secondary do we think is potentially fake?
Well, I know the secondary market in China is 100% fake.
I'm still interested. What is the secondary market you all speak of?
Oh yeah.
I don't know what we're talking about.
It's where those National Distillery bottles from old granddad you keep making me buy come from.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, keep it.
I will tell you, our site was picking up analytics in China for a while, a couple years ago. Almost all our pages gleamed over with extra stuff in the name of the URL, and then suddenly it all disappeared. So we think what happened is somebody grabbed it, forgot to remove the analytics, and then realized at some point. So pretty certain there's a Breaking Bourbon China going on that we don't know about.
Can we have those guys on? Can we have them on for a special roundtable?
Yeah. So imagine this scenario, like the Pappy 23, a guy gets on and he says, I want Pappy 23. I'm buying 10 bottles. And he ends up having a wedding. And let's say 5 of those bottles are fake and 5 aren't. Is anybody at that party going to know the difference? They're going to open those bottles up and drink it. And be like,
hell, I wouldn't even know the difference.
If it was like Barter House or something, I'd be like, God, this is amazing. This is a delicious orphan barrel. But I just wonder how many would even know that they were not drinking. I think I've had it once in my life. I don't even know if I would be able to tell myself if it was real or not.
I mean, I think you make a good point of, I think most people would not even know because they're already so psyched up to drink Pappy 23. In their mind, it's already the most amazing thing they've ever drank.
Yeah, the placebo is already in effect.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
I think that's the point right there, is then why bother paying that much for it?
Well, because it's a rich person's commodity.
Because it's not bourbon's not irrational.
It's a commodity.
now that we've went through this, this contemporary discussion of bourbon counterfeits, I'd like to give kind of like a little bit of a historical, background to this, because this was a very serious issue in the 1800s. The very good bourbons would always be counterfeited, and they would take out a considerable amount of advertisements and newspapers to encourage people to purchase the legitimate, bottle, and they would spell out like how to tell it was Old Pike or Old Crow or Taylor. So they had they dealt with this stuff in the 1800s. It happened in the 1950s. And now that bourbon's popular again, it's gonna happen.
I like Mark Unger's comment here that said, real fake Pappies are actually more rare than real Pappies, so they should actually be worth more. Yeah. But with that, I think that's a good kind of way to kind of wrap this up in regards of this segment, and just to make sure that everybody knows as a PSA that this actually, it's a real thing. If you have empty Van Winkle bottles, just destroy them. If people want to use them for crafts, that's cool. Get a permanent marker right in the back, drill a hole in the bottom, whatever it is. Just don't sell it on eBay, because if you do, you are part of the problem. So what, you got something else you want to add, Fred?
No, I was just giving the old,
how about it? All right. So one of the things that's kind of more topical, because, we
like an ointment.
No, I guess not like an ointment, but I mean more topical in conversation. See, you come here, we're together. Now we have this banter and it doesn't work very well.
Too much bourbon here.
So there is a new Netflix series called Tidying Up. I don't know if you've watched it. I don't know if your significant other has watched it, but it is all about this lady that comes in and figures out a way to make your house just a little bit more tidy. And it's almost like anti everything that we would know in regards of like bourbon hoarding and bourbon collecting.
So I kind of want to put it to you guys first, if you've actually seen the show, and second, like, what do you think this really means? Like, if somebody, because her whole shtick is like, if you look at it, does it mean something to you? And like, can you go to your bourbon bunker and look at a bottle and say, does it mean something to you? And should you get rid of it?
I have the problem with the freaking, like a bottle like this. You have like an inch left of juice and you're like, oh no, I cannot drink it or get rid of it. I can't do anything with it because it's gives me so much value and I'm scared to like get rid of it. So that would be my huge problem.
I started a system probably about 2 years ago where I have a couple bins and then I have shelves and then I have a thingy over there and then there's some more over there. But of the bins, there is one bin that I consider the not sale bin and mainly it's single barrels. Like, I want to be able to have one pick of each really good single barrel that I know that I'll never get again. Like a Weller 12, I'll put them in the get rid of or drink bin. But like a single barrel to me is the stuff that you can't replace later on. You can always go online and say, hey, does anybody have Parker's 8, or something like that. But you're not going to be able to replace the first, single barrel from a group you joined or one that you picked out or something like that. So I think there's definitely a way to separate what I would consider to be stuff that I would absolutely miss and stuff that I would miss for a little bit.
Yeah, so I actually hate this whole documentary because I have some slight hoarding tendencies in my DNA, and so getting rid of things. My wife tells me, like, it's not painful. Why is this painful to just throw stuff away to you? She loves to just like clear out the closet or clear out whatever it is. So yeah, probably I should be the one watching this, but I refuse to because of that. It's just one of those things where, she makes good points. Like, what does this really mean to you and that kind of stuff. And to me, it's memories. It's, hey, who did I drink that bottle with? Hey, who did I, what did I buy that for? A special occasion. And I have a hard time just getting rid of stuff. So I think it was maybe it was 2017. I tried to do like a no open New Year. So just drink through bottles that were already open. And then like 2 months in, I'm like, well, I'm just burning through too many bottles. I'm just going to keep opening new stuff and pushing these to the back of the cabinet. So
like most resolutions.
Yeah. It didn't go too far, but that's one I just have a hard time with. And it probably says something. We moved recently, and so just not even like the majority of my bourbon is at my office.
Wreath went, those.
His wreath's been way gone now. Yeah,
the wreath's been gone for like 3 episodes.
New Year, new Blake.
Episodes. Yeah. So the majority of my bourbon's at my office, and then so what was left at the house, we have it all packed up, and it's like 6 of these big plastic bins for clothes just filled with bourbon and whiskey bottles and everything. And my wife looks at it and goes, I want you to look at this and tell me this is reasonable and rational for one person to have. I'm like, you look at it and you're disappointed. I look at it, I'm pretty impressed. I think a lot of people would like to come hang out over here.
Show her shoe collection.
Yeah,
and say, are all these necessary?
That never works for me because she goes, all right, I'll go get rid of all of them. And then she'll just go buy new. I'm like, no, that's not how this works.
Wait.
Yeah. But no, there should be some method to the madness, but with for sure.
But I guess another question I'll feed to you all is that, we see it all the time. We see it all in the groups, and people say like, "Oh, bunker clearing event," like blah, blah, whatever. Like, is this a like a justification for it, or is that just another bullshit excuse because you bought too much stuff and then you just realize, well, I've got nowhere to do. Now I've got nothing to do with it. I'm not going to drink it. I might as well just unload it.
If you're anything like me, then you can't get enough about bourbon. And that's why I'm a subscriber to Bourbon Plus magazine. Bourbon Plus is a quarterly publication that tells the stories from the heart of bourbon, the farmers who grow the grain, the distillers who labor over the process, and the people like you and me who raise their glasses to celebrate it all. Subscribe to Bourbon Plus magazine today at bourbonplus.com, that's PLUS.com, and use code PURSUIT at checkout for $5 off your subscription. Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. Shopify's point of sale is your command center for your retail store. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify has everything you need to sell in person. And with Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers in line and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns, from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. And get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone. Transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system, or use Shopify's point-of-sale Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Do retail right with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/bourbon, all lowercase, and go to shopify.com/bourbon to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/bourbon.
I guess another question I'll feed to you all is that, we see it all the time. We see it all in the groups, and people say like, "Oh, bunker clearing event," like blah, blah, whatever. Like, is this a like a justification for it, or is that just another bullshit excuse because you bought too much stuff and then you just realize, well, I've got nowhere to do. Now I've got nothing to do with it. I'm not going to drink it. I might as well just unload it.
I don't ever feel like it's too much that's never going to get drank. I think the expanding collection is fine. It's that much more to choose from with people. I mean, a bunker clearing event, I think, is just an excuse to get together and drink bourbon with people for fun, which always
not a bad thing. Yeah.
Always a good thing, right? I mean, whatever excuse there is, that's a good thing to do. I feel like I've gotten hangups with some bottles with finishing them. In fact, the first thing I had, not because of this topic, but this Blanton's from 2013. It's just something I haven't really had in a while, and I just did the last pour of it tonight. I wasn't particularly saving it for anything, but kind of just happened to notice it was getting low, and I thought, oh, it looks like one pour left in there. I might as well drink that. I guess the idea being that there's all these new things with bourbon. The whole thing is about the single barrels and the unique limited release. And you can look at it, and I'll look at my collection sometimes and say, I kind of have a story with almost every single one of these where they either changed the label or they had an age statement and now they don't have the age statement, or, the juice is different now, or whatever the case might be, that you can look and make up something for it. But I think at some point you got to just kind of let that go and say, there's always going to be that. And then there's always going to be the new ones that are coming along. And the whole point is really to drink it and enjoy it. So
see, that's what I try to tell Kenny every time I come over here. It's like, let's open up something. Come on, man.
So you say that, and I've got an antithesis to that.
Drink.
I got an antithesis to that because Nick just told us it took him almost 5.5 years to kill that bottle of Blanton's right there. So what's a good time limit to have on an open bottle then?
Well, that's because I have so much open.
You can replace it.
I got too much open. I can't do them that quickly.
And we have so much bourbon. Everybody has so much bourbon. We have ridiculous amounts of bourbons that if we cut it all off now, we would be fine till we got old age. I mean, I have so many bottles everywhere, all over the house, but yet I'm still, oh, look, a new barrel came into town. Let me buy 5 of those. We have so much bourbon, but we're always afraid of missing out on that one special pick. We're like, down the line, we're going to be in our deathbed. We're like, man, if I had just gotten one more of that Bourbon Crusaders or that, that Bourbon Roundtable Buffalo Trace, life would have been complete. And it's like, it doesn't matter. We're just drinking good bourbon whenever we drink, and that's all that matters. We just can't get that part in our head.
My problem is that I get that taste of a good bourbon, and I want to drink the whole damn bottle. That's the problem. So I end up hiding it from myself, and then I see it later, and so good bourbon, man, is when you get it. Yeah, I know I lost the camera. I can't get it back on.
Yeah,
I sent him a text message. No,
I kind of like this new Terminator look, though.
I see that. That's an old army photo. Am I bald in it? Is my head shaved?
No, you have some hair there. I see some hair.
No facial hair, though.
Tonight's, I'm going for another pour. I'm going to find a bottle that I can kill on this round table. So that's my goal for tonight.
Blake, is this in honor of me?
Yes.
I pulled out the new
Kerry,
glasses
out
for
for
you
my
guys
bottle.
too.
you know.
Carrie, everything tonight is about you.
Look, these are brand new glasses I got for you guys. Aren't they sexy?
So as we're talking about just this and how we're drinking a lot of stuff, and the thing is, a lot of people look at us and they call us, and I hate it. I hate it when people call us influencers, because at least Ryan and myself, I don't think we hate to be called influencers. It's just because I don't know how we got there, but people do. But however, there was a good article that came out from the whiskeyjug.com today, which we're recording on Monday. So when you hear this on Thursday, make sure you go check the show notes. But in short, it actually talks about what is the definition of a whiskey sommelier. Now, a whiskey sommelier, and this is the TLDR version, is actually a term that doesn't exist. The only reason it does exist and I'm taking it directly from Josh Peters' website here, and exactly verbatim what he says, is a term that's made up by some marketing folks in Texas who run a thing called the Wizard Academy, aka the Whiskey Marketing School. Now, it's not endorsed or accredited by any reputable association nor distillery. It has zero associations with any actual court of master sommeliers. And to become a whiskey sommelier, all you need to do is pay $4,000 and attend a 2-day course. And with that, you need, exactly, I mean, it's a fantastic deal, but you need zero prior knowledge of whiskey. It is a quote unquote certification that you buy and obtain in a weekend, and that you do not actually earn over years of work, and that takes studying like a real, I guess you say, wine sommelier. So before we go into this, and I don't think we really need to dog them or anything, but if you need to learn more about it, I encourage you to go to whiskeyjug.com and read the entire article that talks about this, because it really goes on in depth in regards of really what the levels that they go through, the levels for each, they charge for each level. So you're talking like $4,000 for the start, and then $2,000 for every level above there to actually become this quote unquote sommelier. But again, there's a lot of inference in the fact that it is not endorsed by any distillery or any other program that's out there. Now,
so it's worthless.
Well, worthless. It's worthless to people like you or I, or to anybody here. However, to the general public, maybe it's not, because it's one of those things that you can just buy a certification for. Ourselves, as well as Fred, we've talked about this before in regards of actually how hard it is to actually create a whiskey sommelier program. I want Fred to go ahead and kind of give a little bit of his background on it, because I know that he's been asked to do this before and been a part of this as part of his regular day job as well.
First of all, a huge shout out to Josh Peters and the Whiskey Jug for great reporting. That made, this story is... It brings a big smile to my face to see someone taking the effort and the time to do that type of reporting. So thank you for doing that for the community. Whether or not you agree with it or not, it was good, solid reporting. Now, the sommelier. So for those who don't know my background, I actually did a lot of wine writing. My biggest claim to fame in the wine world was I broke the news on the classification controversy in Saint-Emilion in the 2000s, and
you're talking over our heads. I think most of us have no idea what you're talking about.
Anyway, I was up for International Wine Writer of the Year, and I'm in this room with Robert Parker, Jancis Robinson in London, and all I want to do is be around bourbon people in 2012, and that was the moment I decided to drop wine and go just to bourbon. And I spent a lot of time with sommeliers, specifically master sommeliers. And there is a high level of tasting, and there's a lot of transparency in wine. So they can taste a wine and know for a fact the grapes that were used. They know for a fact the hillside that those grapes came from, and they know for a fact the percentage of the blends. Because if people want to have the classifications on their wine bottles, they must adhere to those rules. Now, it is impossible for whiskey to have an equivalent of a sommelier program, because Jefferson's is getting and Jefferson's and any other non-distiller producer is getting whiskey from 3 different distilleries, and they don't disclose it. So there's no way that your palate can ever be trained to understand what Jefferson's is, because they are getting stocks from several different sources. With that said, the actual distilleries trade barrels with one another all the time. So it is not irregular for someone like Jim Beam to sell say 500 barrels to someone like Diageo or Brown-Forman.
Pursuit Series.
Pursuit Series. Maker's Mark is probably the only one that doesn't take in whiskey, and Wild Turkey the same. They don't take in stocks from other people, but they, but the fact is, it is hard for professional palates to identify what a whiskey is, because that target is always changing. Not only that, but then you have the distilleries changing their age. And so while a wine producer must cling to the rules, the whiskey distillers have no rules in terms of flavor or quality. You have straight bourbon. That just means it has to be 2 years old. You have bottle and bond, which, if you strip away a lot of the production stuff, just means it's 100 proof and at least 4 years old. Unless there's a stated age, you don't have anything to cling to as a taster. So there's a lot of, and that's what the sommelier service is. It is a stewardship from wine professionals to be able to cater to consumers. So, when I wrote the book Bourbon Curious, I did my very best to give a kind of break away some of those hidden facts in the bourbon world, because the distillers were never going to just straight up disclose them. Now they're starting to disclose more and more, but at the end of the day, we don't know the exact age of Maker's Mark. We don't know the exact age of Buffalo Trace or Evan Williams. These things are composites, and there may be 4-year-old barrels in there, one dump. There may be none in the next. So the sommelier level comparison to whiskey from wine is not fair. We have to have our own program, and it really comes down to a lot of the programs that are out there basically cater to the marketing of whiskey. I've been approached by many people to start a sommelier program. I've refused them all because I don't believe that it is, if the distillers are in charge of that, then it only helps the distillers. It does not necessarily help the consumer.
So I'm gonna take that in a different direction. And Fred, you've talked a lot, so I'm gonna go to talk to somebody else about this.
I do talk a lot. Yes.
No, it's okay.
I fully admit it.
It's the background that we all love. But and I think the real shtick here, what Josh really tries to get at with this article, is that he dogs on it because he uses the term sommelier, and that is something that is very connotative to the wine world that takes years and years and years of work to actually attain that particular title. Now, he could have called it steward. He could have called it, wizard. He could have called it whatever it was, whiskey wizard. He could call it whatever it is. But the fact that they use sommelier, I think, was the real turnoff. I want to kind of turn out to any of those other guys on the table here. Do you really think that's the case? Was it really just because of that particular word?
Yeah, I'll jump in a little bit. I think from their perspective, that's a great word to use because it does have that correlation with what people are thinking and going to the program and why it should cost $4,000. But, and I think I put this in our group chat when we were talking about this show of, I don't know if we need that in the bourbon world. Like, nobody's going to high-end restaurants saying, hey, what bourbon should I pair this with? Hey, what, kind of that whole cultivating the process. I'm obviously I've had some turns where I'm trying to, turn something into nothing from the Bourboner blog. So I don't fault them for trying to make this whole thing up. I just think from like a consumer standpoint, people going to spend $4,000, what are you really getting? Like, are you trying to get a job in the industry and that's why you're getting this? Do you work in a restaurant or a bar and that's why you're going to the program? So I kind of just look more at the motivation for people who are going to these programs and what it really does for them to, if I assume in the wine world, if you have the sommelier designation, that does help you get better jobs. That does help you move up in bar programs and move to higher end restaurants. But with this, I don't know if it quite has that clout or whatever it is to really help somebody, kind of push their career along. So, I think that's a smart choice of words because of what it brings up in people's mind. But like from an actual having, really a backbone there, I don't think it kind of lives up to the sommelier level to just be 3 days. But that's not to say that the whiskey world doesn't need it. I mean, beer has their, was it Cicerones or whatever it is, and all of that. So I think at some point we'll need kind of a certification or a.
We already have that. We got the Stave and Thief Society. There's a few other ones that are out there already. So it might just be yet another.
This is completely separate from Stave and Thief. For some reason, in my mind, I was thinking it was something similar.
No, because this is based like Stave and Thief here in Louisville. This is based out in Austin, Texas. So it's just a geographic location of the difference of where it's at.
I just asked the question in the chat. I was wondering if anyone knew how many people earn that title each year. I may have missed it or just don't remember it from the write-up.
I know this, that when people wear that medallion at events, it feels a little. It ends up becoming a Flavor Flav conversation. And those things, they feel like Flavor Flav.
What's the sense, Fred, that you get from them? Why do they have it? Yeah. I mean, why are they getting it, Fred? The sense you get, why would somebody go through that program?
Because there's nothing else out there that taps into it. And this entire genre is about like, I'm better than you. I've got more than this in you. And it taps into that. They absolutely, from a business perspective, it was brilliant, because $4,000 at a pop, a lot of people signed up for it. And
Josh says 100 people had it.
I've known Tom Fisher for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's knowing Tom, I like Tom. He's a good guy, and I think he knows this. He's been doing this a long time.
He's a nice guy.
But that's where it's.
You sound like it's a Tommy Boy thing. Like, yeah, he's a nice guy.
but that's where it's just like, just because, some people are nice and we like them doesn't mean we agree with everything they do. I'm sure half the chat hates parts of what we do. So.
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah.
The whole Instagram account about us.
Yeah.
We're profiting off it.
Anyways, I've been called many things: profiteer, a scoundrel, whatever it is.
Yeah. So before we hit on the next topic, I just want to again encourage people to go read that, and then you can also he lists all the names of everybody that's actually in charge of there. So. He does a lot of good sleuthing, and you can see their LinkedIn profiles of everything to figure out exactly what have they actually done in our industry that deserves them the title of being able to give anybody the term whiskey sommelier. So please go ahead and check that out.
I would like, I know it's off topic here, but it's also a little bit on the same topic. The influencer genre. I recently had an influencer in one of the social media circles reach out to me about like they're getting like free products and all that, and they got something they didn't like, and I was like, well, you should say you don't like it. She's like, well, but it's free. How do you say you don't like something that's free? And I'm
even easier.
Like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? It really disturbs me how easily new whiskey consumers can be influenced by people who actually have not become, put in their due or taken the time to study and to learn this world. And I'm just curious of everybody's thoughts on this whole influencer craze and social media.
I'm just
Go ahead, Kerry.
taking pictures, smiling in my last.
Wait, are you looking off in a distance with a handbag and relevant pants?
I'm trying to get capture this moment. So I'm print screening and saving the pictures. So y'all keep talking. I just want to let you know if you see me smiling, that's what I'm doing.
So when I think about it, it's an easy target for somebody to try to get into this and do something. I know a lot of people look at this and they're like, oh my God, these guys must have so much fun. Yes, it is. It is a lot of fun we do. It's also a lot of work at the end of the day of what goes into it. But fun is a part of it. And with that as well, always comes the free sample train. We're all pretty accustomed to it.
We still didn't get free samples.
Yeah, we get
a little bit.
We get most than the average person.
Are you drinking something?
We don't even get the BTAC samples
Tonight, just a little while ago, a little 370, a little 200 milliliter.
Oh yeah. We were drinking the Barrel 15 year. Again, those are just the great opportunities that we get to have. Now
nobody sees all the editing and all the everything that goes in.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying that when we talk about the
see it, Ryan.
When I talk about really what the outcome of this is, we have to look at it in regards of what is the public eye see, and we have to keep their best interests at heart. Now, one thing that at least we do, at least with the podcast, we get stuff all the time. And I would say 90% of the stuff that we get, we actually don't post about. And that's because on our side, we've never declared ourselves as whiskey reviewers or whiskey raters or anything like that. However, if we got something, we'd be more than happy to talk about it if it was really that good. Or we at least put it on Instagram or something like that. However, most of the stuff that we ever get, we don't do anything with, just because it's just nothing that we've ever been blown away by for the most part.
Yeah, and I think it may have been me and Nick or me and Jordan had this conversation of when you get all these press samples, and I can't imagine, what Fred gets at this point now too, is you can't make any promises of, hey, I'll post it, I'll do a review, I'll do this and that. It's, it's kind of like, thank you so much, I really appreciate it, I'll work it in where I can. That may be a good review, that may be a bad review. But really it's, kind of going back to the influencer thing, it's kind of hard because it comes down to what are we really trying to do this for? Are we doing this for the consumers? Are we doing this just to push products more? Because if it's just to push products and get more samples in, yeah, keep giving everything a great rating. But I feel like eventually people will catch on and man, that sucked. And this guy said it was the best thing ever. So, that's kind of the tough part, but we've all been there. It's like, if you get to 20,000 Instagram followers, you better believe your DMs are blowing up with brands asking you if you want to receive samples. So I think the best thing is just to be fair. I haven't had much pushback. I think I've been discontinued from a few lists for samples because of products I get, but or because of reviews I've given. But overall, I think most brands kind of take it in stride.
You know what I'm most proud of as I segue into my retirement phase of blogging? I have always been honest. And I said from day one when I started blogging, I was going to be honest. If something sucked, I was going to say it sucked. If it was just okay, I was going to say it was okay. Orphan Barrel, let's see, how many places won't respond to me anymore? Luxco won't respond to me anymore after I destroyed Blood Oath. Michter's actually cut me off their list because I called their 2016 M10 bitter and something else. Diageo cut me off, and somebody else. 2 other people won't respond to me anymore. So I don't give a crap. I was honest every time I had a review of something. If it was good, I said it was good. I gave props. Most of the time, honestly, it wasn't that good. I'll be honest. And so I was honest with it, and I feel good that I was not an influencer. If anything, I was more of a person who told people not to buy shit.
But at the same time, that is an influencer as well. I mean, you influence them away from something. in that sense. And Blake, we definitely had that conversation last time we were in Kentucky, and Kerry, we've got a list of, brands and producers that won't reply to us anymore. Unfortunately, we've published some things, and just our honest take on what was going on, and it resulted in that kind of thing as well. But I think we lose it if you aren't honest and don't have fun with it. We talk about that too. Sometimes when the samples pile up, you feel like there's a lot of stuff. People are emailing you like crazy. We step back and say, we're doing this for fun. In a lot of ways, if it becomes fun, we're not going to want to do it anymore. So we kind of have to rewind and take a step back and say, we're going to write about the stuff we want to, and just let people know, we don't promise to review everything. We said that right away. I mean, we appreciate the sample, like you said, Blake, but at the end of the day, you're going to write about what you want to write about, I think, is the main point. And you got to be honest about what you're talking about. Otherwise, what are you doing this for? Right. It's not fun to then you're just regurgitating what somebody wants you to say. We've been approached by many who even say, here it is, we've written it for you. We're like, no, that's not how we do it. We understand that might be less work, but it's not why we're doing this. We could have very easily done that, but that's not the point.
Any distillery that won't send Breaking Bourbon a sample is not worthy of anybody buying their shit. I mean, honestly, you guys have
Let's call them out right now.
I will. You guys have the best blog and the best reviews. You're honest. You got the little damn barrels on all that little thing. You guys have great reviews. And anybody who doesn't want to send you samples, fuck them. We don't need to buy any. I've read it out right there. We don't need to buy.
We've had them unfollow us. We've had them stop replying to us. We've had all that. It's just, I think comes. I think if that was your friend, you're doing something wrong.
Have you had anyone buy you dinner to yell at you for an hour?
There's the new bar.
Maybe my wife.
It's going to happen. I assure you. Because you guys have incredible impact on what people purchase, and that is one of the most gratifying moments of a career is when someone buys you a very expensive dinner just to yell at you for an hour. It's going to happen.
Just I want to put this announcement out there. Anyone who wants to buy me a very expensive dinner to yell at me for an hour I'm open. I'll let you know when I'm in Kentucky. And
FRB's is a spot.
I can zone out better than most. And if you think I can't zone you out while you just scream in my ear,
it's great.
Coming.
That's what all our kids will do. You have to learn to zone out.
Yeah. If you think I can't hear or just enjoy a dinner with screaming in the background, you are mistaken.
Oh man! All right, so we've gone to an hour.
Everybody here is very honest. Everyone here is very honest about this stuff. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So we've gone here for an hour. Now, you guys feel like going for like another few more minutes to hit one more topic, or should we table it and then?
I've got one big topic I've got to hit.
Okay.
I prepared a 10-minute speech and PowerPoint presentation for the retirement of one of our veterans. Kerry was. We're going to talk about that.
Let's go ahead. We'll save the.
We should save it for next time.
The salary one. We'll save it for next time again.
I feel like that's going to be an ongoing bit of we're going to talk about salary. We're going to save that for next time.
We're the Jimmy Kimmel and the Matt Damon of the salary bit is what it's turned up to.
So tonight, folks, but
it's hard to end it on that one too. That's a serious topic.
It sure is. So with that, let's go ahead and we will close it out with our last one. As we say goodbye to a dear friend of this roundtable, and I know it's not going to be this last time here because I'm sure we're going to pull him out of the bullpen at some point to come on. But Kerry has been a pivotal member of this, bringing a lot of his quick wit, a lot of his funny antics to this. I remember, I think, we rhyme back a lot of Bourbon Community episodes ago. I just remember him. I mean, he still does it. He'll give Blake a lot of shit, but being able to say, I'm that guy in the Bourbon R Facebook group. You can find me there. So Kerry, I want you to kind of go ahead and take it for a second.
So I realized, I think last month that this just the whole bourbon hobby itself to me in terms of blogging and this is not that big of a deal, but I think just being prepared and knowing what's going on just kind of became a burden for me and was not as fun. And, honestly, you guys are flying high and I'm just sitting here with my ass on the ground, comfortable. I mean, I'm comfortable. The ground feels great, but you guys are all soaring. And I think it's time to just sit out a little bit and maybe get inspired to write again at some point, or get inspired to talk again. I think it's just time. I feel like the last one, I just kind of, I didn't even know what's going on. I just want to drink some good bourbon and hang out and talk with people and just enjoy life, enjoy bourbon, enjoy relaxing. It's been an honor and a privilege to get to know all of you guys. I consider you guys close friends. I hope next time I make it to Kentucky, we can hang out and I can finally drink Kenny's bourbon and Fred, meet up with you.
It's very good.
Have you buy me a steak dinner, and Nick, see you.
It's funny how Kenny's bourbon tastes better than regular bourbon. It's the same brand.
Free bourbon's the best.
But this has definitely been, in terms of a hobby, like nothing has ever immersed me the way that I've been immersed in bourbon, and it's been a lot of fun. But it's time to just chill a little bit, and so looking forward to it. Looking forward to just not having to have the stress of
the once a month.
Write an article this month. That doesn't matter. It's just about having fun, and maybe I'll get a little more perspective if I'm just sitting back and enjoying life now. So to all of you guys, I'll miss you guys on this roundtable. I'm sure when your ratings start to go down, you'll pull me back in for a couple times out of the year. And you all are, I consider, good friends. And so thank you guys for bringing me aboard in the beginning, and we'll see you around. And also just want to let you know, I'm selling this Buffalo. This is Bourbon
Price just went up.
Table, Buffalo Trace for sale, but not on a secondary market or anything. You can just reach out to me.
How do we know that's not a fake?
Yeah, how's that not a fake again?
Yeah, that's a fake. Blake, you're sore and you're killing it. The seal box. Just don't forget me with that seal box. That you said you were going to send me the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You got two of them though, right? You got two of them. I got to get you the other one. Yeah. Okay.
If you want it back, they're all amazing. They're all good.
No, but
Kerry, do I remember right? Are you the one that actually initiated the Twitter chat?
That's what
That's what I was going to say. Kerry,
isn't it your idea?
Started this whole thing off.
Yeah, it was definitely Kerry's idea in the very beginning. He's actually the one that got us all in a group chat on Twitter. Let's rewind back to late 2015, early 2016, something like that.
That's when he was flying high in bourbon.
And so and that was just a group chat. It was a group chat on Twitter, and we just all talked in there. And I kind of took this idea from a technology side, that people get together and they get a bunch of people from the technology realm together and they talk about topics called a roundtable. And I said, well, what if we get like a bourbon roundtable together? And that's kind of how all this was born. So, Kerry was definitely a pivotal person and even making that happen.
Yeah, it was fun. And I think my sarcasm and humor really drove the show and made it become what it is today. So
I agree and concur.
I planted a seed, but
Kerry is the Steve Wozniak of the Bourbon Roundtable.
Come on, man, I'm the Steve.
You're not wearing a turtleneck; it's a hoodie.
If this is like a hangover, I guess I'm the fat guy, right?
It's kind of like a Mark Zuckerberg vibe you got going on right now.
But seriously, I mean, all you guys are amazing. Fred, even getting to know you, just the small podcast that I've done has been a privilege and an honor, and hope to meet up with you someday.
I meant what I wrote you privately. So just remember that.
I appreciate it. And in the picture that you sent me.
Is this going on the Bourboner jokes now?
Yeah. You had to get one last
transition.
One last.
And Nick, man, you guys are killing it drinking bourbon. I mean, there's no stopping you guys. Looking forward to seeing all that in the future. And then Ryan, hey Ryan, and then Kenny.
Hello.
Well, I appreciate that, Kerry. And I want to say too, I really did always enjoy reading everything you wrote. I thought it just flowed really well. I think there was one thing you wrote that really stood out to me years ago. It was like an introduction to bourbon or something like that. What is
last
bourbon?
post you did years ago?
What was that, Kerry? What was that post? It was a long post.
It was a Bourbon 101.
Bourbon 101. And I thought that was fantastic and entertaining and filled with information. I thought that was a fantastic post.
I think it's still worth a read today, just to look at it.
Absolutely.
What is bourbon? What did Kerry Google to write this wonderful article? And what's still relevant today? It was actually, what's funny, real quick, and I'll finish with this. But I think there was somebody who posted on the Bourboner Facebook page, Bourboner Facebook page, and they actually copied. There was the last, I think, funny post I did was stupid things people say in the bourbon world. Do you remember we did a podcast on that? And there was 10 dumb things. Somebody actually copied and pasted the text of that as their own in a post. Do you remember? I think you might have seen it, Blake. And I wrote, like, thank you for copying and pasting, my blog article.
You remember that. Yeah.
And then I looked at it, and it was 2016 that I had written that. And I'm like, I can't believe it is already 2019, and it's 20. I wrote that in 2016 then. So it's, maybe that'll come back to me someday, and we'll have that. And of course, to the Bourbon Pursuit guys, man, you guys put so much time and effort into these podcasts that everybody listens to. I mean, I didn't even realize how much they listened to it till I said I was retiring, and everyone wrote me and said, I listened to it, and I listened to it, and my grandmother listened to it, and her sister listened to it. And you guys put a lot of effort and a lot of work into the number one bourbon podcast. So keep that shit up, man.
Well, thank you, Kerry. We're going to miss you, buddy. It's been a great ride. I mean, you will. Your last post, though, was great, though. Your last blog article was so on point.
Was that when I was 37? I don't remember what that one was.
Oh, no. But Blake, do you need to kick off your PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah. So it's going to start with, was it Gloria Estefan, Oh, How the Years Go By? And then I get a little background music that's, may move into Tim McGraw.
It's either that or Green Day, one or the other.
Oh, The Time of My Life. Yeah. You get me.
I hope you had that. I could just do an acoustic if that works for everyone for just a quick 5 minutes.
Oh, great.
No, that was it. I just wanted to talk about, really Kerry's the one who started this thing off, kind of kicked it into gear, and love him or hate him, Kerry's been a big part of this podcast. It's always funny. Kerry gets, I feel like, the best reactions from people, because I'll get an email from someone who says, man, love y'all. Why does Kerry hate Bourboner so much? Like, well, he's just kind of joking around.
And then he hate himself so much.
Yeah. Like I'm sure he's in the Facebook group somewhat, but he's not in there all the time, moderate. Like, hey, did Kerry delete my post? I'm like, he's not actually a moderator in the Bourboner group. But
you could make it. That'd be really fun.
That should be the next gig. Yeah.
All right, fellas. It's been real. It's been fun. I appreciate it. And
he's got spinning class to get to.
I do. I got to get these muscles. I got to get this bell down. But I'll stick around. But just want to again say thanks and appreciate everything.
Well, again, thank you so much, Kerry. And one thing I forgot to talk about, at the top of this was, Brian is not here tonight because his father passed away this past week. So condolences to Brian. And, he'll probably be on here again in a few weeks. But with that, I want to go ahead and we'll close it with that. I know it sounds like a down note, but, we had a great podcast talking about a lot of different topics, from the fakes to everything else. And so with that, I want to just go around the table one more time where everybody can find you and where you're blogging, and you're drinking something tonight. Go ahead and tell us what you're drinking too. So Blake, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I'm Blake from Bourboner, and let's see, that's BOURBONR, and then sealbox.com. That's SEELBACHS. You can check out all the, what the rum that Fred picked as the best American rum of the year, the bourbon that I believe Kenny picked as one of his favorites of the year, which was a new riff pick I did, the Sealbox pick. But yeah, just thanks for having me. It's always fun. I joke about being consistent with this one, but it's just one I never want to miss. So thanks again for having me, guys. Fred, Ryan, Kenny. Always great to be on the Bourbon Soup podcast. Tonight, I was drinking a mix of, I was drinking this new Bull Run. This is a Pinot Noir finished, 21 months in a Pinot Noir barrel, and then also a Blanton's from Quality Liquors or liquor store out in San Diego. So
I thought you were going to kill a bottle tonight.
I was trying to kill a bottle. This was the lowest bottle I could find. And I may die if I try to kill this bottle tonight. So Kerry, we're going to kill a bottle the next time we're around. So no, thanks again, guys.
Awesome. Nick?
Well, I'm Nick from breakingbourbon.com, one of the three guys behind the website. Find us online. Just a little note, release calendar. We got 2019 up. It's a little sparse right now, but you can circle back to 2018 as well. There's a link up to check that out. And we'll hopefully be filling that in a lot more as we go forward here. We some of you guys don't know.
Sorry to interrupt, but doesn't the government shutdown have a big impact on the?
It does. It's a little slow during this time. Yeah. But so some of you guys don't know this. So we are in the process of completely redoing our site from top to bottom in a brand new, brand new system. It's going to be a lot cleaner, a lot nicer than it is right now. It's taken us an incredible amount of time to do that. We're hoping to roll that out very soon. And, then we'll actually be able to spend a little more time on content. We've actually been a little slow on content lately.
Adobe Flash or something?
So
all you tech nerds out there probably get that one, but nobody
what
else.
Does that mean?
I mean, it's a language that nobody uses anymore. All right. So,
okay.
It's like hieroglyphics for technology.
Sweet.
So we're point being though that we're looking to do a lot of cool things in 2019, and that's going to kind of let us take away time. Stuff that's taking away time for that. We're going to spend more time on content, new things we've been wanting to do. But find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, all at Breaking Bourbon. And just want to raise a glass too to Kerry. It's been a lot of fun. And of course, to Brian's dad. So you guys watching, everybody watching, I'm sure a lot of you guys have a bourbon in hand. Hopefully, just say, Kerry, cheers to you. It's been a great ride. Hope to see you on here again. And I know Brian's not with us here for this tonight. I'm sure he'll be on the next one. But it's a big deal, right? I know his father was a bourbon drinker. I wanted to grab one of his favorite things. I think he said was Woodford Double Oaked. I just didn't have time today, unfortunately. But thinking about Brian as well, and so everybody, cheers to you guys and to Brian.
Cheers. Cheers.
And so kind of round that out with what I've been drinking. I've had a couple things here. One I'll point out, this Four Roses single barrel. It's an OBSK. Back 2014, this was actually a fine wine and good spirits. That's Pennsylvania's their name for their state controlled liquor authority. But it's a great bottle. This was actually a bachelor party bottle for Eric years ago. So Eric, one of the three guys behind the site, and we had a lot of bourbon at it. It just happened to be one of the bottles that ended up coming home with me at the end. It's a low fill. Happened to just grab it tonight, and these low fill bottles, I really haven't noticed anything bad about them. I haven't had any bottles that have really felt like they've degraded over time. So it's still fantastic pour. But cheers, guys.
We'll let you have a one-on-one with Wade about that. But yeah, we can tell you definitely have a problem of hoarding and not getting rid of empty bottles either.
Well, you see what I have open over here. It's like they're not going away quickly. Okay, I'm doing the best I can.
It's all good. Kerry, I'll let you round it out here before we finish up.
So, like I said, I think we've said everything we need to say. I've enjoyed everything here. I'll come back in once in a while, hopefully, and have some fun. And definitely follow me on Twitter. Send me a DM if you just want to talk bourbon. Love to always talk about bourbon and give you my honest feedback on any new releases. Again, it's at bourbon_gamer. And we'll see you guys around. Thanks again.
Sliding Kerry's DMs right there.
An open invite. Yeah.
That's my bourbon late night.
Yeah. But again, thank you all once again for joining. Kerry, once again, appreciate everything that you've contributed to this podcast over the years. It has been a pleasure. Fred, anything else you want to add before we close it up here?
You know, the not having Brian here tonight, it's surreal because he shared with us the connection of bourbon with his father, and I know you said you don't want a downer note, but I actually look at it as a happy note because the incredible relationship that Brian had with his father, and we can never forget that bourbon is really merely a conduit to the relationships we have with people. And I'd like to propose one more toast. Kerry, I'm going to miss you. I think you have a great voice. You've got an incredible place in bourbon. And my door is always open. My phone's always there if you want to chat. But to Kerry, to Brian, and to his family, just cheers.
Cheers.
Let bourbon be our friend.
Cheers. And with that, I guess, Brian, you always say it best. We always love reviews. We always love people helping the podcast, helping us grow. Thank you to our Patreon community. Thank you everybody else that helps us make it happen. But go ahead and close us out.
Kerry, gonna miss you, bud. I can't tell how many people just come up to me and say, love the community roundtable because of Kerry and the comedic. I love comedy, and that's why I'm here for, because a lot of people take this seriously, and I do too, but I love the fun, and you brought a lot of fun and enjoyment for this hobby for me. And so I'm going to miss having you here. So, and then to Brian, prayers to his family. I mean, bourbon's about connection. It connects us to a lot of people and a lot of things. And I feel for Brian, but I'm glad they had that bond together, because that's what we're here for, is this connection with each other, and bourbon helps us do that. So, guys, I'm sad that this is going to be the last time we're all together, but maybe not. But anyways, that's how I just want
to say never.
Never say never. Yeah, absolutely. But with that, thank you once again, everybody, and we will see you all next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.